Hey everybody, I'm hoping I can get through this fairly quickly with you, so it's not a long video to watch, but we're going to talk about the terrain. And the terrain is very different from that of 2018, which was very different from that of 2015. So when I come into the lecture material, some of the images are from 2015 and some of the images are from 2018, like these two. However, you will see a huge difference. I'm not sure why they made the changes that they did. I thought painting the terrain was very simplistic. It was just click the paintbrush, everything you needed was there. So it's going to take me a little while to play around and maybe chat with some people from Unity and find out why these changes were made. So back over into Unity, you'll see I still have this game object scene coming up because several of you asked me about nesting because you didn't nest anything. What you had was a lot of objects in the hierarchy, but none were nested. In the lecture, I go between nesting and parenting, a parent and a child. So you have your main object, which is the parent, and another object is associated with that parent, and it is nested. So over here in the house, if I use this drop down, you'll see I have a house as the parent, and then I've nested the rest of the house inside of this object, the roof, the window, the door, the chimney. So what happens if I select the house and I want to move it, I can move it all as one unit, and I'm not going, oh no, I left the window over there, I forgot the door. This is very important when you're building large scenes because sometimes you can have thousands of objects in your hierarchy, so you want to be sure you understand that nesting process. So what I did was I created another scene, and I went to File, New Scene, and then I saved that scene, File, Save Scene As, and I saved it in my Scenes folder, and I named it the game. I don't want to save anything here, so I also brought into my project my beautiful textures that I created, and I noticed that two of them are not in my Sparks page, so I'll be getting those in shortly to add those with this particular assignment. So now we need our terrain. So let's get that terrain in there. What we're going to do is go to Game Object 3D and slap that terrain right in there. It gets slapped in there. Let me tell you folks, this terrain is huge. We are making a very, very simple game, so we want to resize this and make it a little bit smaller. You do that by going into your cog in the inspector, and down below it's telling you that right now the terrain width and length are 1,000 meters. We don't need anything that large. In fact, I usually tell everyone to go by 300. I'm actually going to try it 10 times smaller and see what happens in this class. But a good size would be 300 by 300 in your sizing. So also we have the terrain height. And in another announcement, I come to you and I talk about, and I provided this page, this documentation page. So it talks about a lot of the differences in the actual terrain components. But over here you have something, this is a great thing that you should kind of like bookmark. It's got good information in it. So it talks about the terrain tools, but working with height maps. A height map is something that you create in another program and you bring it in to the Unity application, excuse me. So you bring that in, and it's a height map. it's kind of cool. You can create it in height map in Photoshop, and it works with the blacks and the whites in the color, in well, they're not really color, well, it just works with those tones, and whatever is dark is a height, and whatever's light is not. So it's really cool to do. So set height, we're just going to go there. So it's telling us use the set height tool to adjust the height of the area of the terrain of the specific value. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to set height tool similar to raise and lower, but it does the additional height, so you can set it so it doesn't go anything more. And we're going to actually do that because we want to make our basic shape with a height, and then you can just play around and go crazy. So remember that. This is Unity documentation, the Unity manual. Very, very good thing to have bookmarked. So it's telling me that I should set my height. And so I click on my little brush because, you know, I'm going to need my brush. And you could just choose some of these. They're different settings of how they work. So I'm going to come in and set my height to 13. And it says left click to set the height. Bam, I left clicked. So that looks pretty good for my basic shape. My brush size is a little large, so I'm going to lower it some so I can get this shape going on. So let me pause the video, I'll create my basic shape, and I'll get right back with you. And we are back. So this little crazy shape that I have going on here was the very top part was at the 13 height level, and it was just too high for what I wanted, so I went down to a 9, and that's the next level. Then I said, well, that's kind of high, so I went down to 4 to the next level. So what I'm trying to do here, folks, is the whole square here is going to be covered with water, and I want that water to come up to that first level. So I'm going to just click away and kind of come in here so you can see the levels. So my water is going to come up to about here, and I might even go down one more set, maybe to a 2, but the water will come here, and the rest of this will be my island, and what's under here is going to be the sand. So that brings us to painting the terrain. So let's go ahead and select that terrain in the hierarchy and come over, and we're going to take a look at this drop down menu, which is the new feature. So normally you would have clicked on the paintbrush and everything would have shown up right there. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to say paint texture, and Unity says, well, paint the selected material layer onto the texture terrain. So I don't have anything selected, and back in the day you could have just, you know, brought in your textures and then selected one, but now you have to make a layer. So I'm going to select this edit terrain layers, create a layer, and in my layers I'm going to find my sand, and I'm going to double click on my sand, and it was automatically added to the whole terrain. Whole terrain got it, right? So I'm going to go ahead and grab my other textures and bring those in, and then I'll talk to you about the editing those textures. I'm just checking out how it looks on here. So I'm going to add another layer, and I'm going to call it rock. And then I'm going to add another layer, and I'm going to call it, what am I bringing in? I don't know. I think I'll just leave that just as is. So I have my sand, and that was my default, and what really looks kind of strange is how it looks here. It kind of doesn't look very good, but you can edit how many times your texture repeats itself by double clicking on or clicking once, and you can open this. So it says new layer, you can open it, And here are the tiling settings. Right now it's set at 2. So I'm just grins and giggles. I'm going to go 9 by 9. And I don't know if you saw that in there. I'm going to do it again. So watch right here on the terrain itself. So it was, I changed it to 2 earlier. So I'm going to put it back to 1, how you would see it as 1. So that's what it looks like. So I just changed those numbers a little bit. Alright, we'll see how it looks when a person gets in there. So the next piece of the puzzle is I'm going to select that terrain and click on my rock, and I'm going to paint some of the upper levels with some rocks parts. So down here is the lower level, and then up here I'm hoping that I have enough oomph to walk up here. I might have to change some of my heights and make some stairs so the character can climb up there. We'll also see how that works out. And you know how to do that if you need to do that. So I'm going to grab my rocks and I'm going to make the opacity a little light, and come in here and start painting my rocks right through here. And you can see the rocks are painting but not very strongly because I changed the opacity. So same thing with the rocks. If I double click and then select open, I can change this to something that looks a little better. And I think I need to increase the opacity, so let me go back to my terrain and increase that. If by decreasing the opacity you get more paint showing, right? So you got it. You understand what I'm saying, right? And then probably grab another texture and see how that looks up there. Alright, yeah, I'm gonna have to. I don't think my character can climb this. Maybe might need to change something right in here, but we'll see. Alright, so now we have that piece of the puzzle. So next are your trees. So you can paint some trees on here. You would select edit tree, add a tree. If you don't have any trees in there, you're going to have to import the environmental stuff. So I don't have any, so we have to import that in. So we're going to change that to free. And we have some trees, realistic trees here. Quick look here. Oh, I see. Download process starts. That was pretty quick. So now I'm going to import, and what happens is it prepares the package, and then it says, hey, here's all this kinds of stuff that I'm going to give to you. We import the package. Takes a little bit. It comes in under your assets, and it will come in as trees. So here's some packages here. Unity, collaboration, analytics, packaging, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to switch back to my scene view, and I see this a lot, and I'm going to show this to you, but don't do this. Do not click and drag your tree in like that. See how it comes in? We're going to paint the trees on to, I mean, for one tree that's one thing, but we're going to actually paint the trees. So we come over to the terrain, we select our trees, and then we say edit tree, add a tree. Where's the game objects? I don't know. So I'm looking at, I'm going to go with tree number 9-5. So I double click 9-5. I add that tree in there. You can add as many trees or shrubbery that you want, but you select a tree. What's the brush size? Okay. Tree density. See, this is set at 83, so if I brush, that's how quickly the trees come in. I'm going to Control Z out of there. But you can unpaint, so I'm going to do that again. I'm going to paint. Now if I hold my shift key and I paint, it removes it. I'm holding my shift key. So that was pretty kind of clustered for me. I think my island needs to be a little sparse. So I drop that and I start painting. So where are they going to go? I don't know. So anytime, it's actually very sparsely done. But you can have variances in your tree height. You can have variances in your widths. You can have variance in your colors of your trees, but that's how you paint your tree. So in the next option you have paint details. Paint details, click to paint details, hold shift and click to erase. Those are those kind of things. But I'm wanting to add some grass, and they have moved the grass feature. So now I'm going to come in and go over to that beautiful documentation, so we can find out where the grass is. Grass and other details. In the terrain, blah 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 quads, it's a billboard render, so I click this one. Oh, it's the same. Okay, alright. So, alright, it is the same. So we select our paint details, come down to edit details, add grass texture. So it says, where is this texture? And I made my own grass texture, so I'm going to come in and grab that. And because my terrain is green and pink, I'm going to change my color here. So if I click on the dropper, I can find a color. But if I click on the color, it opens a dialog box that I can actually choose a color. So I'm going to use pink and green because that's what color I kind of have here. And then I'm going to say add. So right now I have this beautiful grass selected. My brush size is a little large, so I'm going to bring that down. And we're going to play around with opacity and target strength because you need to understand those. So I'm going to leave them as they are right now and paint right up here. So you can see what's happening with this grass. So there it is, there's the colors I've added to it, the two pink and green colors working out. So that was with the opacity and the target strength as is. So now I'm going to come down to the next level, and I'm going to lower the opacity and lower the target strength and paint. So you can see it's not quite as dense. So up here, if I can get this to operate correctly, that's pretty wild. But this one you can see kind of is not as together and dense, and you'll notice it more when you add your character. So I'm just saying, mess around with those, try it. Last but not least, two more things. I talk about fog in a skybox. For right now, just know that if you go to your window and you come over to your, rendering, had to really think about that because this part was changed at the end of 2018. So rendering, lighting setting, so you grab your lighting setting, and in here is where you place your skybox material if you want it. That's still the same. It's still the same way as in the lecture material. And you can also set your fog, etc. in here. Real-time light maps, baked light maps, all of that good stuff. So I'm just going to scroll down. There's debug settings. There's a halo light map. They put in a few new things here, so I'm just peeking at it so I know what I'm talking about. And that's pretty much everything you need to know for this particular lecture, and I hope that the differences don't kind of throw you. Take it as a challenge. If you would like to import a character and put your character in the game so you can see what it looks like, that would be great. Unity actually has its own character package, or you can bring in your own. So I'll do that in the next one. Thank you.